Hey folks, welcome back to TheByteBit. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at the applications or the default applications that come with the ultimate version of ZORIN 12.2. Now I have to say that in the couple of weeks that I've been testing out this OS, two things have sort of popped up immediately. One is that they do package a whole slew of applications and utilities and games all bundled into this OS release. And that's great. However, it may not be for those folks who want to install this OS on an older computer, maybe an older laptop. So it really does need and require a number of resources with memory, video, CPU, processing power to kind of give it the energy or the resources that it needs to run properly. I did start out with building out a VM with I think like 4 gigs of memory, and I quickly found that it was limiting in the apps, the switching, sort of slowness in general, and I was kind of forced to shut down the virtual machine and give double the memory just to kind of get it to work normally. So the takeaway point here is that if you are going to install this, whether it be on a VirtualBox or if you're going to install this on your laptop or computer, just make sure you give it enough resources so you can actually enjoy all that it has to offer as an operating system. So with that said, let's go ahead and start by taking a look at some of those default apps I mentioned. So if I click on the menu here, you can see that it starts up by giving you, all of the sections here, if you will, or the categories, accessories, games, etc. And if you click on one, it brings up the applications within it. I think it's a straightforward approach here, and I actually I find it quite elegant and simple to use. So in the accessories alone, there are quite a few applications here that I actually use often enough in my world, and you guys may find that it's useful for you as well. And especially for those folks who are transitioning from Windows or Mac, this will probably be a really good starting point here. You get an activity journal that you can pull up here, and this think of this as your browsing history, but for your computer itself. As an example here, I was just taking a look at the GNOME document setting here, and you could see that it showed you that this is what I did in the evening. I can actually switch over to a time frame here, and you can see when the document was opened. So in like fashion, you can see this and your previously used documents or previously accessed documents, I should say, and they'll be listed here, and you can kind of scroll through it in a chronological fashion here, and you can open up documents. And so if you're working on a Word doc, or if you're working on a presentation and you needed to go back to it, couldn't remember where it was stored or where the file resided, you can use the activity journal and open up the document. I think it's really quite useful. You do have some very minimal preferences here. Go to configuration, you can show it in the system tray, but it does what it's supposed to do. It gives you that history so you can quickly access those files if you need to. So that's well worth having. Second thing is a calculator, very simple. Clock for changing a clock and date and time information as you'd expect. Documents isn't a folder. Documents is actually your sort of think of it as a cabinet for all the documents that you have in your system. In fact, when I go to recent here, let me just close this out here. When I actually open this up, you'll see that these are the documents I frequently use. This is a new system. I haven't installed any or created any documents, so I don't particularly have anything in here to show you guys, but it does have some night mode features, and you can go ahead and take a look about the version as well. Let me just switch this back here for a quick second. Yeah, so think of this as an application or front-end GUI to all your documents that live on your system. So as you start, creating them and downloading them and saving them to your machine, this is where you can come in and find those documents there and access them. So useful for sure. Go ahead and close this out here, go back to accessories. Files is the file manager, which we went over in the last video, so that's always a handy thing to have. Let's see, maps. So this is GNOME Maps, which is a front-end GUI, and as you can see, you can kind of zoom in here, and you can actually also do searches, favorite places here. So it's useful. It isn't going to replace, you can see it's using Mapbox for the actual graphical data or the map data, but it may not replace Google Maps for you. but it is nice to kind of have here. Again, this is what you would expect to see in Apple Maps, right, on their desktop version, and the folks at Zorn have implemented this in their OS as well. So well worth having, I think. It surely will help out the folks here if they're looking for a application on the desktop rather than the Google Maps website. Close that out here. Let's go and take a look and see what else is next. You've got Notes, which is a note-taking app. Makes sense, right? PDF Mod is it's a PDF viewer with some functionality built in, so this way you can actually kind of extract some pages out of a document. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab one of the test PDFs I have here. This is just a shipping label. And you can see you can actually just right-click and you can extract the page, so you can throw it into its own kind of PDF file and save it if you want to. I'm just going to say close without saving. And under edit, you can just rotate and all. So not really a true PDF modifier where you can sign and change the text out, but lightweight viewer for sure, which I find super useful in any OS. Okay, let's see what's next. Photos is fantastic. Photos actually, I mentioned this before, but the app itself is well designed. It's streamlined. It's not going to give you the ability to like Lightroom or Darktable, but Zorn actually provides Darktable, which is a Lightroom alternative to Linux. So you can make and edit your photos to your heart's content as professional as you want to, and then save them. But this is just really to organize your photos and view them and share them as you'd expect. Now, obviously, I don't have any pictures in here, so it doesn't show. Well, you can go to the settings as it suggests here, and you can create your online account. However, if you just open up your file manager and go into your pictures folder, I'm just going to go ahead and just drag a picture in here real quick. And when I do, it'll pop up for me right here once it detects the picture, and there it is. So you can kind of just double click here and you can see the picture, and you can go ahead and just apply some changes here. You can print, open with the image viewer if you have another application, set it as desktop, set it as lock screen, look at the properties of the image. So like I said, I've tested this out on my other laptop here, and I actually did copy a bunch of photos, JPEGs, fairly large size images, several megs a piece, kind of scrolling through, and I found that it worked really well. Simple to use. I can star or favorite the pictures, look at the albums, and share them as you'd expect. So I think it's a well-designed app. I'm going to close this out here, close this guy out as well. Let's go see what else they provide in this Ultimate Edition. You've got Redshift, which essentially works with the night mode on the OS, and it'll help to dim, or rather, change the color. Remove the blues out of the monitor, so this way you can view the monitor at night and hopefully not damage your eyes. Synergy is a fantastic app. I actually use Synergy in my main systems. For those of you that are unaware, it's actually a open source sharing application, and what it does is it allows you to use one keyboard and mouse to basically control multiple computers. So imagine, if you will, you've got two monitors side by side. One monitor is for one computer, the other monitor is for another computer. You can actually install Synergy on both and link them together, and when you do, just one keyboard and mouse will allow you to kind of work through both environments. It's great to use, and if you do have multiple computers, I highly suggest it. You can think of this as a virtual KVM, a virtual keyboard, video, and mouse software, and it does a job, and it's open source, so couldn't recommend it enough. Let's go see what else they got here. Okay, you got a to-do list, which you'd expect, a text editor, which is also available for you here. And again, I like the fact that they've kept the theme here for the applications. You can see the blue and white theme, and we'll take a look at the system settings in just a little bit, and you'll see that we do have the ability to change some of those colors and even the theme itself. Not as intricate or as involved as you would get with other flavors or other distributions of Ubuntu and Linux in general, but again, for somebody that's coming over from that Windows and Mac world, you don't need to provide them with every possibility under the sun. Let them get used to the Linux world, see how things work, and then they can kind of grow their knowledge base. So interesting text talk in here. I'll say close without saving. Let's scroll back up here. and you've got VirtualBox installed. VirtualBox is from Oracle, and it's a virtualization software which you can run, Windows and other operating systems right from your main OS, if you will. And it is an open source. In fact, if you go to Help, you go to About, you'll see that it's running version 5. And I think that's pretty good. So it's nice to have. You could have obviously, the theme here that should be running in your mind is that you can install these applications from the web or from your software center. You don't need to pay for these, but Zorn has kind of provided them in one all-in-one package to help you get started. So let's go ahead and close that out, and let's see what else is next. So you've got the weather application here, and you got a journal app that you can use. Pretty decent set of accessories to work with. And let's go ahead and take a look at games. Now, I have to admit, I'm not really a gamer per se, so most of these apps here I've never actually tried. I mean, obviously I know of them, like Sudoku and such, but there is an actual link on the webpage for Zorn that actually goes through the games that they provide with it in the Ultimate Edition of the OS, and so I'll link to that in the description below if you guys are interested in going through all of the games here and just seeing what they're about. So like solitaire, chess, and such. So let's go ahead and move on from there. Let's take a look at graphics here for a second. You've got Blender in here that you can use for your graphic design and creation. Again, if you're into that, you can certainly go ahead and use it. All of these packages that you see here come with the Ultimate Edition, which again I think is a good starting point, right? You give the user these packages or these applications that they can use if they're new to Linux, and they can obviously uninstall the ones that they don't like or install other ones that they do. A Darktable, which honestly I can't recommend this enough. If you do happen to use Linux, it is a phenomenal photo editing, photo collection, sorting application. In fact, think of this as a direct replacement for Lightroom from Adobe, and you can see they even kind of mirror some of the aesthetics as well for Lightroom. Not sure who had the aesthetic language first, but clearly, I mean, I gotta say, I've used both. I do still use both of these applications. I use Lightroom from Adobe, and I also use Darktable for the Linux world. I gotta say, they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, Darktable is open source, and it hasn't been around, I think, as much, or maybe they haven't quite put in all of the feature set that you might expect, because again, Lightroom is from Adobe, and it has a direct relation to Photoshop. So if you are one of those people that are into photography and that's your daily profession or a career, obviously you may already have your selection of software in place. But for those folks coming in that want to kind of edit their photos, this is far better, above and beyond what you would get in Windows or the Mac OS X environment. So it is well worth learning, that learning curve that it has, and you can get a huge amount of genuine, feature sets out of it. So definitely worth having. All right, let's close that out here. Let's go ahead and take a look at graphics again. Ebook viewer, FreeCAD. You've got GIMP, which is the photo editor here. So this is the Photoshop replacement. It's running version 2.8. Again, could not recommend this more, because you can obviously make any of the changes and updates that you would normally expect. It's got filters and layers. Very, very big competitor to Photoshop. I'm not an actual graphic designer. I don't use Photoshop or GIMP on a daily basis, so I can't really tell you which one in the end will win, or if which one has a particular set of features that just kind of demands you use that one in particular. But again, from the general purpose usage that I've done with GIMP, it's a fantastic photo editor for sure. All right, let's go ahead and just close this out here. Go to graphics. Let's see. You've got Inkscape. What else do you have? LibreOffice Draw. I kind of started noticing that they've placed the LibreOffice suite of software not necessarily in a grouped environment, but more for the category in the menu that you see here. Normally, you might have, like, in your flavor of Linux or your Windows installation, if you've installed LibreOffice on there, you'll see that it's all grouped together. This actually has it kind of separated out a little bit. That may throw some folks off, but it's well worth kind of pointing out here. Here's My Paint, which is very similar to Paint in Windows, the paint.net, right, or the newer version, and you can do a whole slew of things here, right? You can paint and draw. In fact, if you have any of those tablets that you can actually draw on, might be a really good option to kind of start with. And let me just see what version they've got in here. Okay, so they're running 1.2. Okay. And it's a free software under the GNU license, the public license, which is fantastic. So I think it's got a great design, aesthetic look and feel to it. You kind of want to use the app once you load it up, right? So I think they've got a bunch of options here too. I haven't really played around much in My Paint, just only a couple of weeks of just checking it out, kind of importing a picture, just drawing some shapes and figures on it to get a feel for it. Go back to graphics here. What else did I want to point out? You've got Simple Scan if you do happen to have a scanner that you want to kind of scan documents in. Again, same aesthetic look here with the blue and the white, which makes it a nice addition to have. Let's see, what else do we have here? I mean, you can tell there's so many pieces of software installed on here. Here's Scribus right here. This is open source desktop publishing. Let me just let it build out the cache here, and then we'll populate the application. This is the first time I'm opening it on this VM here. And you can do a single page and say OK. And you can go ahead and start creating your document and working with it here. I don't particularly use this app, but I have heard of people actually using it. They enjoy the feature set that it comes with. So let's go ahead and close that out. Let's see what else it comes with in the graphics side of here. Actually, you know what? I haven't looked at FreeCAD. Let me just open that up real quick and let's take a look at it together. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so let's do help and let's see. About FreeCAD, let's see what it says here. So it's running version .15, okay? And talks about the release. It says that it's 64-bit here. Kind of points to the operating system. Okay, let's go ahead and close this out here. So I'm assuming this is where you can actually go ahead and create your CAD design, because I can see the 3D shapes and sizes here. Again, I'm not a 3D graphics designer, modeler type deal, so all this information, would really be lost on me. I would have to kind of research this app, but it is here for us. It looks like it might be part of the open source framework here, so it is a free app from what it looks like. So you would not have to pay for it, and of course if you don't like it you can uninstall it, so no big deal there. I think that pretty much covers it for graphics. Let's go ahead and see what else they got here. Let's take a look at internet. Chromium browser, which is the open source version of Google Chrome. I think that's great. I particularly like this browser. Now, Firefox has come out with their Quantum browser recently, and I have been testing that in the background. In fact, I'm going to throw a video up on that as far as the Linux world goes. I think they did a really good job. It isn't, they claim, I think, that it's like 2 times faster, and it has a redesigned core, so it can draw the images faster for you. So it's not, night and day difference, but it is a difference. But more importantly, if Chrome takes up, in the end, if Chrome takes up more memory in the system than Firefox does with the same tabs and same web pages, I think a lot of people will, may jump ship, because obviously with Google Chrome you have your settings and your extensions and such, but you also have them for Firefox. So getting back to this is the default browser that you get here. So, I think it's a great choice to have. You can obviously install the other choices out there, like I just said, Firefox, or you can even install Google Chrome if you'd like. And there's a few others too, but choice is up to yours, but I think this is a good start to have. Plus, people are familiar with Google Chrome, especially those folks coming over to Linux. They're used to the name. They may get thrown off a little bit with the Chromium, but they can just easily find out that that's the open source version of it. Let's take a look at a few others here. You've got Transmission, which is a BitTorrent application that they provide to you or for you in the OS. You can see your ratio here. There's so many to pick from, but again, if you just had to kind of get something up and going and you wanted to download a torrent for something, you can just throw it in here and have the content pulled down. So not the end of the world here. Let's go ahead and take a look at Geary here for a quick second. This is the email client here. I'm actually not going to enter in any information here. Let me cancel this out. But you do get that. You may want to install, Thunderbird and get your email that way. That's a fantastic client from Mozilla that I do recommend as well. Let's see, anything else I wanted to talk about? Here's Empathy right here. It's actually a pretty good messenger app. Let me just skip this real quick, and you can see here you can actually add in a number of different messaging services in here. I don't know what all they cover. I don't exactly know the applications that they do. So here's the list here. Okay, yeah, I knew there was a bunch that you could do. So you could do ICQ, IRC, Facebook Chat, Google Talk, Jabber, AIM, and a whole bunch of others right there. MSN. Not even sure if MSN is still available, but yeah. So bunch of options for you to select from, and you can go ahead and add as many as you'd like, and have all your messaging apps in one container, if you will. So that is a cool thing to have. Let's look at internet here. I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to go over here. You know what? Let me touch on this here. Here's the Zorn web browser here. Let me pull this up here. It's the manager, and I think it's pretty cool because they give you this ability to install the browsers of your choice, but it's limiting. Obviously, you've got just these 4 here, so it's not like they've pulled in any of the others out there. But if you wanted to go ahead and install Firefox as an example, you can just click on install. It'll go and get the necessary files and download it for you. Not really that fantastic of an idea. It's not like you can't just go into your App Center or just go into a terminal and run 2 or 3 commands and get the browser of your choice, but it is worthwhile looking into during this review. Okay, let's go ahead and switch over to Office real quick. There are a bunch of stuff in here. Let me just go through some of the ones. Like you've got Calendar. Again, I love the aesthetics of it. It's clean. It's simple. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but for me, my calendar is booked with meeting after meeting. I have a bunch of stuff during the course of the week that come up even on the weekends. And so having a clean, simple layout really does make it much, much better in terms of usability. And you've got this same blue and white aesthetic here that kind of goes through. You can just click on the date. You can go ahead and enter in some information here. You can even edit the details, put in your notes, and say done. So simple but effective, and you do have some options in here as well. You can synchronize and import and export, but I think it's a great calendar to work with. Okay, let's go take a look at Office again. Let's see. Here we go. Let me pull up Kleber here. So this is an ebook viewer. I know there's also an audiobook viewer that just came out as well. I'm forgetting the name, but we definitely want to take a look at it. In fact, I want to do a video on it because it's supposed to be a great audiobook app or replacement for Mac users. I'll go ahead and click next here. You can see you can pick up some information and click finish. And I believe there's also a paid version as well for this application. I think maybe in the Windows world it's paid. It's a paid app if I remember correctly. And then of course you have this version here. So it's great. Let's go ahead and open up this quick start guide just to kind of give you guys a quick look here. You can start scrolling, and if you're an ebook reader and you get your ebooks from other locations than your Kindle, say, or Mac, you can easily throw them in here, change the font and bookmarks. Everything that you'd expect in a ebook reader software is here. I think, and then some. So decent app. I have used it in the past. Let's go to Office again. You got dictionary, ebook viewer here. This I believe is just a standard viewer. Yeah, this may actually be part of the system, but let's go ahead and pull this up here. Let me see something. Let me see if I can get the. Yeah, this may be part of the Libre application itself, but they've kind of integrated into the operating system. Kind of has the same look and feel of it, at least from what I can tell. But it is a viewer here, so that's nice to have. Let's go back into Office here. Let's see. GNU Cash is a personal finance application. Let me just say close. I don't need that guy. And if you happen to be one of those folks that likes to manage their money on the computer system, then you can actually, certainly go ahead and use it. I have never used this application, so I'm not quite sure how well it works, or if it's got some bugs, or if it's not even worth looking at. But it is here as part of their Ultimate Edition, so just wanted to point that out here. Let's go ahead and close and say no. Let's go to Office and see what else they got. Home Bank. I actually never took a look at this before. Personal accounting. Okay, so you've got another accounting piece of software here. Looks like you can configure your bank's information and keep accounts and information there in view for you. Kind of have your spending statistics here of where the money goes per se. So this might be helpful for a lot of people. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out, and let's see what else we got here in the Office. So let's take a look at what else we have here. Home Bank we just saw. Now you've got your LibreOffice here, where you can actually do the writer for your Word document, draw. You can do your base, calc for your Excel documents. So that should be fairly straightforward and simple for folks to kind of get around and get used to. You've got your planner here. Just want to take a quick look at this here. Here's your daily, planner. It's straightforward. I did try a little bit of this. It did have a little bit of a learning curve in the sense that it wasn't as intuitive as I would have liked it to be. But you have your general layout here, which kind of guides you through the rest of the app here if you want to take a look at your tasks and your resources and usage. It almost kind of made it seem like as if it was similar to Project, like Microsoft Project, not in its entirety, of course, but similar in the sense that you had to kind of be aware of how that works with the timeline in order to use this. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the About here. Point 14.6 comes part of the GNOME desktop here, so that's good. And yeah, so it is here in case somebody does have a planner that they use and they're looking for an alternative in the Linux world. Let's go ahead and close that out here. Go back to Office. Let's see what else we've got here. Referencer, if you want to go look at your thesaurus, if you need that. View Your Mind, I think, is a mind map. So let's go ahead and just see here. Yep, okay. We'll say don't allow for now. And it is a mind map here. I think I mentioned this earlier in another video here, but mind map software are actually really good to use, especially if you're somebody like me who has to think through projects that involve a number of different steps and third-party resources and clients and such. So, kind of get your idea out on paper, if you will. Instead of just jotting it down on like a notebook, you can do it here. Plus, you can install links and you can have, documents and screenshots. So, perfect kind of tool if you want to kind of map out your ideas. I highly recommend it, whether you use this View Your Mind app or any of the other, hundreds out there. Just if you are interested in looking into it, I recommend it. Let's see what version this is again here. About, looks like it's using Qt551. And let's do the version of the app itself. So version 2.5.0. And it gives you some information about the app. Okay, very nice. Let's go ahead and close that out here and see what else we got in the Office section here. I think that pretty much covers it. So you can see that I've gone through just what the top 4 here essentially, or the top 5, and it's they have definitely included a very large application set here for folks to use, kind of touching on all different topics from Blender for 3D, and you've got a journal software and the home banking application. Again, none of this is set in stone. You can install it, you can uninstall them at will if you need to. Let's take a look at programming here. So let's do Bluefish Editor here, see if this is an IDE. Now, this is an IDE out there. I think I tested this out just a few minutes. I haven't really had a chance to kind of delve into the IDE as much as, I guess some folks out there have. If you guys have used this before and are fans or not really a fan of it, let me know in the comments down below and see if it's worth recommending to the rest of the user base here. But you do have a IDE set up here, and you can see you've actually got a bunch of different languages that you can invoke, so that is pretty neat. Let's go ahead and close this guy out here. Let's go back into programming. You've got Builder. I've actually never used Builder before. I actually not really familiar with what it is, but let's go ahead and just take a look at the About section here. Looks like an IDE for GNOME. Okay, very simple. So let's see, we'll just go ahead and say new. Let's do from existing here. Looks like you can actually open up a file here. So let me just go back and say cancel. Not really familiar how to use this, so we'll do new project. And from a source code repository. Oh, okay, so you actually have to go to like GitHub or something and install it. Again, as I said, I've never used this app before. This is my first time checking it out. Not sure if this is actually worthwhile using. Hopefully you guys out there, if you have used this before, please do let me know if this is worth taking a look at. Looks like for programming languages, it has a whole slew of them, which is fantastic. F#, you've got Go, HTML, J. Let's see here. Yeah, quite a few. Objective-J here. Opal. OpenCL, obviously you've got Perl and PHP, you'd expect to see that. Python 3 as well, R for math, standard. Yeah, very large set of languages that you can code in here for. So maybe this is actually a really good application or a good IDE. I also noticed plugins in here, which is great. So you know any application that allows for plugins, especially ones that come from a community-based system, will certainly be a better solution to use. Obviously, because the community can design those plugins or extensions that'll just help your day-to-day usage of the app. So good to see it here. Let's go ahead and close this guy out, and let's see what else we got in programming. Yep, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and go back here. Let's go to sound and video. Audacity, I definitely want to start with that real quick. Audacity is an open source audio application manager, editor. You know, it does a whole slew of things, a whole bunch of stuff here. You can edit and cut and crop and merge and stitch audio files together, change out. You can see obviously the all of the dials and options that you would need for configuring your audio file. I think this is probably one of the most used files applications out there for audio projects. So probably other folks out there who use it on a day-to-day basis will give it much more of a better description than I am right now. But as you can see, you can apply effects and analyze the actual audio. Let's go ahead and take a look at the About version here again. So it looks like it's Audacity 2.1.2. I think this is the latest version as of this recording. I think this is the latest version out there. It is free and open source program, so obviously it's a favorite for many folks, and rightly so. Let's go ahead and close that out here. Sound and video. Let's see. Cheese is for taking your selfies. Let's see. What else should we take a look at? Handbrake is for ripping your CDs and DVD software. It's nice to see that it does come with it here, and you can actually rip your DVDs or movies if you'd like, and you can select the format in which to do it in. You can even set it for the iPod here if you'd like. So I've used Handbrake before in the other operating systems. I think on Mac I've had it for a while, so it is a pretty decent app for folks out there that need to rip CDs and DVDs. Let's go back into here. I think, well, you've got Kodi Media Center. I think a lot of people are going to find this to be a really great addition. Obviously, this is for all your music and videos and even pictures too, if you'd like. You can kind of stream them. If you happen to be running this on a media center that's for your television, this is great. It comes in installed all by itself, by default, and you can see it's Kodi for Debian, which of course will be Kodi for Ubuntu, which is Kodi for Zorn. So you can see it's actually trying to do some updates here. And you can definitely modify this system a whole bunch. If you've used Kodi before, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And it is great to see that it's included in this and set up for you already. Just go ahead and click this out here, and we'll click this guy and say exit. Let that come back to the desktop for me. Let's go ahead and do sound and video. I think Kazam is just a video application, if I'm not mistaken. No, actually, I take that back. Looks like it is for screencast. Okay. I've used this before. Recording video, activity on the screen, and capture it. I believe this is also open source as well, right? Yep, under the general public license. Very cool. If you guys do like this application, let me know in the comments below. I've had a license for Camtasia for many years, and I've been using that for a while, so I haven't really switched out to any other choices. If I had to pay, I think I would have definitely gone for one of these open source selections myself. Okay, let's go back in here. Let's see, LMMS. Let's open this up here. We're looking for a working directory, so I will say no for now. And I'll say okay. It's fine. Looks like this is also an audio application, which I briefly touched on in the intro video for this series. I am not an audiophile. I'm not an audio, designer or a person that works with audio, so I can't really tell you if this is worthwhile getting or installing or using. Do want to see if this is actually under the license here. Is this a free version? Okay, free software under the GNU general license. Okay, so the theme that I'm getting from Zorn, it seems like they do install, they're opting for open source software as part of the install process. So it's not like you're getting a deal whereby they have a deal with some vendor, as far as I've seen anyway, that they've included a piece of software that you would normally have to pay for, but it comes with the OS. So take that for what it is. I think they're trying to stick with the methodology or the ideology of Linux being open source. So there is some benefit and some credit to that. All right, let's go ahead and close this guy out. Let's see here. There's a bunch to go through. You've got a sound recorder. Here's your video application, and of course you got VLC media player, which I highly recommend. You've even got Rhythm Box here for your music that you can play. So your media player, music player. I think I've used this before in the past. I do like the fact that you can get your radio stations in here, and you can listen to them as well. You got Last FM and such, so decent play. Again, very nice aesthetic change here, or matching with the OS, the blue and white. So definitely like the look of it. Let's close that out. All right. I think that pretty much covers it for what I want to touch base on. Clearly a bunch more here that I don't want to go through necessarily here. Let's go ahead and take a look at system tools real quick. Oh, actually, you know what? You do see Wine in here that you can pull up. Here's Wine. I do like the fact that when they've installed Wine, they have it on the main menu here, so you can see that you've got your browse, your C drive. If you guys have used Wine before or play on Linux, you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about, whereby you can actually just open up Play on Linux, and it'll load up the GUI here, and you can install a program. There's actually a whole list of programs that you can select from, and you can also install a non-listed program. I said this briefly in the introduction video. This is an additional layer of abstraction that allows you to install the Windows applications. That means you have to take it with a grain of salt, in that it could work flawlessly for you, and it could be just a bunch of problems and bugs and failures and lockups and stuff. So if you are going to use this application, make sure that it's not really for your maybe work purposes, or at least give it enough time to test it out before you do use it for that reason. So I'm going to close this out here because it's going to try and fetch the list of applications I can install. Don't need to do that right now. Let's go ahead and close that out and say yes, I do want to close that out. All right, let's go into the system tools here, and let me see what else. You can install your drivers here, which is great. Good to see. You can actually do search for drivers. This is available in other flavors of Linux and also with Ubuntu as well. So it's not like you're getting something unique for Zorin here, but it is nice to see that they have that here and they haven't touched that. Let's go to System Tools, and you've got the Open JDK, which is the Java developer kit. You've got Java 8 on here in case you need to run something that involves Java, so that's good. Online accounts make sense. You can look at your disks, and you can also run your backups. That's all standard stuff here. You've got your software updates, your software center. You've got your software updater, which is expected. You've got your startup applications. You can kind of see what's going to start up as you start the operating system. So that's cool to have. You can actually edit and add and remove, so that's good. Let's go back in here. Let's go to System Tools. So you've got the Zorn Appearance, which we'll take a look at in just a second, and you got Background Plus. So let me go back to, actually, you know what? Let me start with the Zorn Background Plus here. One of the things that you do get, or one of the applications that you get with the Ultimate Edition, is this Zorn Background Plus here. And essentially what that does is, if I go and I enable this, you'll see that it turns on a live wallpaper. And again, the theme of this OS is that it requires a bunch of resources. Do not be afraid to give it memory, CPU, virtual CPUs, and hard drive space, so that you can use the the intended functionality of the operating system. Kind of get the full experience out of it. Now you can obviously get more. You can click plus, and you can actually go to their website, and you can download more of these guys and throw it into here as a file. This may be for some of you. This may not be for some of you. Some of you may not like this at all, and that's perfectly understandable. But it is something you get with the quote-unquote ultimate version of the OS. So let's go ahead and shut that off and close that down. I don't really enjoy that myself. Actually, you know what? If I go to utilities here, let's go to system tools. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with continue on with the Zorn Appearance here. This is the application for configuring the aesthetics, the layout and look and feel of Zorn. And I gotta say that I think it is a very well designed application. There's a bunch of stuff here that you can do, but more importantly, there isn't so much. There isn't this whole kind of like influx of option after option that you need to configure. And I think, again, going back to the whole theme of folks switching over from another OS or testing out Linux for the first time, this may be a really good kind of introduction to them. So you see, you start here with the one that's highlighted in blue, and you really only have 6 options in terms of layout, the dock, the menu, activities, panel bars, and such to kind of work with initially. And of course, this is the initial layout here that you get with the default install of the OS. So you've got your menu system here that you can click through, right? We've seen that before, and you've got your quick launch icons here. Now, if you want to, you can also, of course, change that, and I can click on here for a quick second, this option here, the second one, and you can see I have sort of the running applications. I don't have the quick launch, but I do have running applications. So I can definitely click on the menu again and invoke another app, but obviously just give me my running apps here. You can also switch it to the dock version of here. You can see if I bring up the activities, you get the dock here that you can add applications to if you'd like, and you get this kind of call out visual display of your apps, which I think is really neat, very nice to have for sure, right? Let's go ahead and go back out of activities here. Actually, and you do get your virtual desktops as well. For some folks, this is a must-have. For me, I particularly have different monitors in my day-to-day, so obviously I have a lot of real estate to play around with. But if you do work with virtual desktops here, you definitely, will find this really useful to have. Let's go ahead and close that out. Then you've got this minimalist approach here. You've got your running apps on the bottom. You've got your application kind of text menu system here. Your places, your favorite places that you normally go to in the computer, and you've got your top panel, bottom panel, and you've got your virtual desktops here that you can click and activate, or workspaces as they call it. So nice kind of layout here, change for a layout. Then you've got your Ubuntu kind of approach, right? When you first install Ubuntu, you have this dock on the left hand side, taking up pretty much the entire side of the screen here, and you also have the dock on the bottom. This, I think, is what most people will generally go for. Kind of gives it this Mac appearance kind of deal, but my experience from the folks that I've kind of introduced to Linux, they kind of experience or kind of want kind of this type of display here only because it's familiar to them from the Mac world. So can't really blame them. After all, this is a trial and error for them. And you've got your call out here for your applications, and you can scroll through, or you can just type the app that you want to load, hit enter, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead and scroll down here, and you can see you've got some icon options. Again, straightforward here, nothing too fantastically hard to kind of wrap your brain around. You've got icons on the desktop. You can say yes, or you could say no, right? It reloads it. Right now I only have mounted volumes. I don't particularly have anything in the DVD drive, so there's nothing here. But if I wanted the home folder, it'll pop right up. Wanted the trash, it shows right up. Network places, so there they are, right? Easy, simple to do. You've got your title bar buttons. In fact, you can actually change them from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, depending on your preference. And you can enable animations and disable them when you minimize and open stuff up. So, interestingly enough there. All right, let's go ahead and get back into, let's see here. I can. There you go. All right. Let's scroll down. Yep, that should take care of the interface. Let's go to the theme. Now, theme can mean so many things for for your release of of Linux, Ubuntu, whatever flavor you're running, right? As you can see here, that they show off. They start with a number of color schemes that you can choose. You've got the blue and the white, the blue and the black, white and green, and you can easily just click on one of them and they change right away for you. Depending on what you particularly like, what your color of the month is. You got this orange and white, even the black, like here. So very nice kind of option sets for you. Nothing too drastic. It's not like it's changing the icon set right away. It's not going to, give you a brand new desktop, something completely different. So shouldn't throw those folks new to Linux off too bad. And you've got your applications here that you can go ahead and set. If you'd like to, you got your icons, the set that you can choose. You can change that if you like, and you've got your shell as well, which I don't have set up here. So straightforward and simple, as I said. Switch over to the fonts. You can choose the fonts and the size for your applications, window titles, documents, and such, if you feel like they need to be changed. And under the panel here, you can actually affect the panel from the top. You can say I want to take it from the top and throw it onto the bottom, if that is your preference. Intelligent auto hide just kind of hides it from view until you take your mouse over it. You can change your height, your opacity, show desktop button, and dash settings here. This is the dash for your dock. This is at the bottom here, so you can kind of change if you'd like to have it show on all monitors, launchers. You can take a look at some of the behavior. You can change the size if you'd like, dock size limit, icon size if you want it to grow, right? And you can see that it does take effect here. Let's bring it back down to 48 pixels here real quick. There you go. You can work on the launchers here, show you your favorites. You can take a look at the behavior. When you press a keyboard, click action will minimize. So all in all, seems like a very nice and friendly way to introduce the user to customizations for the operating system. All right, let's go ahead and close that out here. And let's go ahead and take a look at something else here. Actually, you know what? Let me switch back out. Let's go back to the main menu here, and let's go back into settings. Okay, so we took a look at the configuration for the appearance. We also took a look at the some of the features that it comes with, or applications, I should say. You do have the ability to work with Bluetooth devices and your keyboard and power. Privacy settings here are pretty cool about your usage and history, whether or not you want it to save, clear your temporary files, and you can even disable location services if that is something that you wanted to do. Printers and backups are all well expected in any operating system in this day and age. Your network settings as well, obviously mouse and trackpad and your keyboard displays too. So all in all, it's a pretty well-rounded operating system here for your settings and your aesthetic changes that you can make to it. You can even configure firewall if you'd like to. If that's something that you'd like to do on the operating system side of things, it is clearly here for you. All right, let's go ahead and close this out here, and let's take a look and see if we can go over some of the other applications that we wanted to touch base on. Again, I do apologize. I haven't really done much of the games testing here, so I'll definitely post a link in the description for you guys to take a look at that if you're interested in doing so. Here's your software and update application here, the window, and here you can select where you want to download the updates from. This is nothing completely out of the ordinary here. It's perfectly fine. You'll see this in Ubuntu, pretty much any version in the last couple of years, so this isn't too shocking to see here. Go ahead and close this out. Go back into the menu system here. Let's see. Settings, you've got, let's go to utilities here and take a look and see what we've got. System monitor, for those of you that need to keep track of the system, whether it's, you got applications that are run away with resources. Screenshot to take a screenshot of your screen, simple enough. Archive manager for compressing and decompressing files. We always need that from time to time. Looking at your disks, and then of course your system logs, which is great. Font view as well. So let's go and close that out. I think that pretty much covers. Again, I didn't go through everything here. It would take much longer to kind of work through the process if I did. But it does seem like it has a decent set of applications. Again, is it worth $22 or 19 euros? That is entirely up to you guys if you guys feel like that's worth spending for. But yeah, so that pretty much covers it. for the review of this OS, at least the ultimate version of Zorn. And I guess that brings me to my final conclusion here. And I've got to say, after using this OS for a couple of weeks now, it does seem to do the job fairly well. I mean, I haven't really had many issues with it at all. I think at one point the menu system locked up for me a couple of days ago, and I just had to kind of kill it or even reboot the VM. And that pretty much had me on my way. I've been testing with a bunch of different software, and haven't really had any issues with it. Been running a bunch of software as well. Again, the takeaways here are that it is jam-packed with a bunch of applications. Some maybe more so than not that you probably won't use, depending on your workflow and requirements and necessity. But I got to say that it is well put together, and because it's under the ubuntu/Debian distribution of Linux, you'll be able to get updates for the kernel, and you'll be able to get updates for the OS, security patches and such, if that is a concern for you. And it's been working really well, but definitely give it the resources it needs with the CPUs and memory. Otherwise, I think you guys will be turned off very quickly. And would I recommend this to new users? Yes, definitely. I think for people out there coming from Mac and Windows, or if they want to test out Linux, this is probably a good start. It's feature rich, and they'll probably find it easier to kind of get into in the Linux world. They may even get some aha moments like, okay, I can do this just as well in the Linux world with an open source application. Anyway, so that pretty much covers the video for me on the series. And if you guys have any questions or comments, please let me know. And I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.